Now you are.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Todd Burleson, and I am here today to share with you a little bit about a tool I use in my space called Rigamajig. And my name is Todd Burleson. I am the Resource Center Director at the Hubbard Woods Elementary School in Winnetka, Illinois. Our makerspace is called the Idea Lab. We started it a couple years ago through fantastic support from our parent-teacher organization. I have been an ISLMA member for 1 year, and here is my contact information. I would love to chat with you if you have questions or wonderings, and you can see from this cover picture here from School Library Journal, I kind of like this tool. This is Rigamajig that you can see in the picture here, and I love that the photographer, Xavier Truglia, asked me to bring this along for our little photo shoot that we did because he saw all of the posts that I had posted over the last year about using this tool in my makerspace. I want to remind you that through their, whoops, here we go, sorry about that. Through their presence at recent ESSA town hall meetings, the creation of iSale and the development of the publication Linking for Learning, the Illinois School Library Media Association demonstrates a commitment to cultivating 21st century learners by building, staffing, and sustaining strong school library programs. This year, ISLMA will be celebrating the organization's 30th conference. The theme of the 2017 ISLMA conference is Past, Present, Future, Shining Bright for 30 Years. The conference will take place from October 19th through 21st, 2017 at the President Abraham Lincoln Hotel and Prairie Capital Convention Center in Springfield, Illinois. The program committee is looking for sessions that demonstrate the wide variety of ways libraries and librarians have helped students succeed in both their academic or day-to-day lives. We need you to make our 2007 conference our best ever. Visit islama.org to submit your proposal today. And with that, I'm going to continue my presentation. So the two tools I'm going to share with you today are Rigamajig and a newer tool which just came out this year called Rigamajig Junior. The woman you see here on the left is Cass Holman. She is a designer who has created Rigamajig. And I just want to tell you a little bit about her because I find that when you know who is behind the tools and sort of what their motivation is, I think it helps you understand and have a little bit more compassion for not only the person, but for the product. And Cass has worked really hard over the last several years to create a tool that encourages kids to create and to build and to explore. And she is incredibly gracious. She has taken several, she has for several times now met with my students and done Skypes from her workshop. When she's working on new product pieces, which I'll show you some of the new things that she's worked on over the last year, she has been amazing with wanting to know what kids think of different tools or pieces or components. And she has, as I mentioned, been so gracious with sharing these things with us. She's sent us many prototypes, so things that are kind of in the process of being released to the public, and has Skyped with my kids to ask them questions about what they thought. Did they like it? What would they do differently? And she's entertained questions from kindergartners to fourth graders throughout the process. And last year, she encouraged creativity across the age brackets by creating a social media challenge, which I'll talk with you a little bit about as we move on. But one of the things I thought was just amazing was she made a personal video for each of the schools that participated and encouraged and thanked the kids for taking the time to make the world a better place through their invention. And I just thought that was very unique in this world, that someone cares enough about the users of her product, that she made those personal one-on-one videos from her workshop, which was just such a kick for the kids. She makes a very big point of explaining to the kids that all of her Rigamajig tools are made in America by Americans. And I think that is even neater. And their tagline is that good toys make good people. So this is the Rigamajig kit. And this is what you get when you buy the typical standard kit. These are kind of like an erector set for kids. They're made of solid birch, excellent materials. You get the planks, you get all of the different shapes, you get the bolts and nuts, you get the pulleys and ropes and all those sorts of things. And the thing that makes this wonderful is that kids attach and take apart the planks by thumb tightening wing nuts and bolts. And as you can see here, one of my fourth graders said that he likes Rigamajig because you can make life-size things that you can fit in. One of their favorite things to make are cars. And the Rigamajig has wheels that you can put on things. And we did have to make one rule, which was that the most number of humans that can fit on anything you make out of Rigamajig is one person, because two fourth graders put a little bit too much pressure on the wood, and we have had a couple of planks break because of the rather large fourth graders riding on a vehicle. And you can see here that in this picture, the kids are using these thumb-tightened wing nuts and bolts to attach the planks together. One of my third graders, I love this. I honestly could not have said this better if I had asked for a quote from an adult. When I play with Rigamajig, I feel like a worker constructing something really important. With Rigamajig, you can let your imagination fly. And last year, when we had first began our makerspace, we had a STEAM night where we invited families to come in, and I had a student at each of the stations for every single piece of equipment we had in our makerspace. I had a student who was in charge of teaching people who came to that station a little bit about the tool and sort of the understanding of why we do this. And I created these posters that we had at each of the stations that kind of were talking points for the students. And I think it's really important to articulate the why. And as you can see here, it says that Rigamajig allows students to build big things. These can be prototypes for full-fledged inventions or scale models for woodworking projects. They hold unlimited possibilities. And here, as the student said, Rigamajig is full of endless possibilities. This is actually a third grade student who said, unlike Lego, though, you can actually sit on the stuff you build and test it out. With Lego, it would break if you did that. So to me, that's precious feedback. And this is just some of the materials that you can get with the kit. You can see on the left, it comes with kind of some building guides to get you thinking and going. And it shows, a child size construction there, that things that you can build. On the right, you see something that looks a little bit different. They're a little smaller. In fact, this is what we call Rigamajig Junior. And this just came out this year. And it's really designed more for home use. But what we found is that they are great to have in a classroom. And they're much more affordable in the sense of materials. The full Rigamajig kit costs about $3,300 for the large kit. The smaller kit only costs $350. And it does come with fewer pieces, and the pieces are smaller, but it still is great for a classroom or even for home. It comes in an amazing duffel bag that you can throw in the car and take to grandma's house when you're going and you need the kids to have something really fun to do. It comes with many tools and resources to get kids thinking and going. I honestly have found that I don't need these sorts of things, but I do appreciate that they're there, and I do put them up in the spaces just so kids can have an idea. But they do not have a hard time coming up with ways to use the tool. But I think parents sometimes have a hard time understanding how they could use it. So this is very useful to have in your space or with the materials, just to encourage people to think about ways to use the materials. Um, just recently, they also came out with what is called the Simple Machines extension kits. And you can see, I love this picture of Nora. She is using the gears in a way that I never would have thought. She's using them kind of like a mechanism that when you roll the big gear, the two smaller gears spin. And this, as I mentioned, was a new component for the Rigamajig materials. And because we've had such a great relationship with Cass, she shared this with us before it was even part of something that you could purchase. She sent us one just to explore. And it taught me that my kids really did not understand gears at all. In fact, I don't think I really understood them. And so we created a variety of platforms that the kids could attach the gears to and explore how adding a larger gear to a smaller gear affects the rate of speed, or how it changes the torque or the amount of power that the gear can have. I'm not going to read what's here on the slides, but you can see that, Rigamajig really does bring the learning to life, and it allows kids to be empowered. It allows them to create. It allows them to collaborate. Here is one of the gear systems that we created that allows the kids to explore the gears. And so you can see on the left, the Simple Machines kit comes in another duffel bag that you can use. It comes with everything you see that's yellow is part of the Simple Machines extension kit. So you've got your gears, you've got your pulleys, you've got your rack and pinion systems, and what you can see on the right was the mechanism that we created that allowed the kids to place the gears and explore at the same time. Last year, I briefly mentioned that Cass created a social media project as kind of a way to get schools involved in using the tools. And the challenge was very simple. It was to make the world a better place by using Rigamajig. And our whole school participated. Each grade level surveyed teachers, students, and parents about our school, about issues or things that were challenging in our community. And for example, one of the grade levels came up with the idea that we have a Suzuki program in our school, and on the day that we have Suzuki, the students have to place their instruments in the hallway outside the Suzuki room. Our halls are very, very crowded at lunchtime, and it is very dangerous actually to have all those instruments in that space because they can get kicked or moved and damaged. And so one of the grade levels decided that they were going to build a rack storage system. And so they took that on as their Rigamajig challenge. So they sketched out a prototype. They then used Rigamajig to actually build a prototype. And then from that prototype, we actually put it in the physical space that was actually the size that we needed. And the kids were able to come up with a rack system that they thought would work perfectly. And in fact, it has now gone on to be a program that we're having our PTO, hopefully this year, is going to sponsor the materials, and we're actually hoping to build those instrument storage racks outside the Suzuki room. So it's just a great example of how kids researched and solved a problem using Rigamajig because they can build life-size prototypes that allow them to solve real problems. Just a fantastic, fantastic resource. Here's another example, and this is actually kind of after we used Rigamajig, but you can see on the screen to the right, top right, my second grade teachers last year came to me and said, we got a grant for these books. They weigh about 150 pounds, and we have 4 sets. We'd like to have each of the classes be able to share the book sets. Could the kids come up with a way to move the books from room to room? And I said, absolutely, that would be awesome. That would be a great thing to do in our makerspace. And so the kids took Rigamajig and created prototype wagons to haul the books. And I love, one of my favorite things that happened when we started building prototypes was that one of the first prototypes was about 42 inches wide. That just happens to be the length of one of the planks. And so the kids were so excited. They put the wheels on, they put the handle on, and they went to pull the wagon out into the hallway, and they realized very quickly that doorways are not 42 inches wide. They're about 36 inches wide. And so they had to completely redesign their wagon to be able to make it through the doors. And so a great life lesson that prototypes are meant to be iterated upon. And you're now looking at the actual final design that the kids and I came up with. That's, again, on the screen. And I love this because this is our library. You're looking at one side to the other of our library. And yes, they're actually using hand tools. There are kids who are sawing and drilling. Later they sanded and painted and eventually created a wagon for each of the classrooms that you see again on the screen. But they used Rigamajig to create the prototype for this. So it was a fantastic resource to use to actually get kids thinking in 3 dimensions and creating a physical object. So again, I mentioned this is your basic kit that you can get. It is quite expensive. And last year when I surveyed my students, and I said, what is your favorite tool in our makerspace? And we're very blessed to have several robotics kits and circuitry and all sorts of things. Resoundingly, the #1 resource was Rigamajig. And to me, that says a lot. When people ask me if I could only have one tool, what would it be? I say if you're lucky enough to get it, spend it on Rigamajig, because there's endless uses of this tool. I mentioned that Rigamajig Junior, which is what you're seeing here, is a much more cost-effective way to use these tools. You can do, obviously you can do much the same. It's just a smaller version of the actual main Rigamajig kit. And this Rigamajig Junior kit is, again, $350 as opposed to $3,000. This is one of my favorite quotes from our students last year, that this is hard but fun. And to me, that's what learning should be. It should be hard. We should be challenging our students, but it should also be fun. And I think that is all that I have for my part. But I'm wondering if there are any questions that folks have at this point.
Right now, mostly the questions were just about the cost, which you just went over. And just excited for people are just excited and really impressed by the student leadership of the STEM night and the prototypes that you shared.
Great. If anyone is interested in finding out a little bit more, go to the Rigamajig webpage and talk with them about some of their funding ideas. Again, many people use like a GoFundMe or Donors Choose, and they are very big in getting other people to help sponsor you to get those resources in your libraries and in your schools. I forgot to say, one of my favorite quotes happened on that day when our students were using all these hand-empowered tools. We had a group of 4th graders who were programming our dot and dash over in one of the corners, and I don't know if the dash just got loose or whatever, but it kind of took off across the library and went through a big pile of sawdust. And I heard a student say, "Keep the robots out of the sawdust." And I thought, I don't know if that has ever been uttered in a library before, but I think I've been a success if we're telling the robots to stay out of the sawdust in a regular library. I think, to me, that was a pretty exciting day.
2 more things. Somebody Kelly mentioned a good tool, request from PTO if they do any gifting programs for teachers. And then we were asked to remind at the end of the session for everyone, be sure to sign out on the virtual meetup page where you signed in if you want to earn your PDHs.
Okay. So yeah, so you just shared my last little bit there, Alyssa, I think.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't think there's anything more that I need to read at the end. Just remember to sign out, folks. And again, my contact information is there. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them in any way that I can. Thank you, Alyssa, for helping me this morning.
Great. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.